In terms of introduction to alcohol, I was introduced very young, probably between ages 4 and 5, by an older sibling, and so that was well on its way before I had my brain injury, my first brain injury, and then I was introduced and started smoking marijuana when I was about 8 or 9 years old, and quickly it became a problem, but I was, for the most part, pretty successful in school and in athletics and things like that, so was able probably to hide a bit better than most. My father is a career military officer, so very successful, and the expectations for my brothers and myself were pretty high, and so I went to the military academy for a bit over 2 years, and that was my first time getting to go to treatment. After my second year there, my behavior, my alcoholism was pretty out of control by then, and so I went to treatment and came back to the academy and was permitted to be discharged from the military, and kind of went on my way for a bit and stopped drinking for a while, and then switched and started using prescription drugs for a bit, and then that's actually how I got to Williamsburg. And I enrolled at the College of William and Mary, and was able to stay sober for a very short time, and not so much because I wanted to, mostly just because, and started doing very well in school again. And even the first time I went through treatment, it wasn't so much because I thought I had a problem. It was because I didn't want to get in trouble and I didn't want to get kicked out of school. And so when I was here, it didn't take very long. I think it was probably a semester or two before I started drinking again. And eventually what that led to was I had gone away with some friends for a weekend, and I fell down a flight of concrete stairs. And it's kind of a strange thing. You know, I often think that it actually saved my life in a strange kind of way, because had that not happened to me, I would have continued to drink and do drugs. Because that's really what I wanted to do. I thought all that time that I was just really having fun. You know, it wasn't about, you know, I wanted to hurt myself or any of those kinds of things. I just really wanted to be high. I just wanted to get high. And the fall that I took was what finally propelled me into treatment. So I started kind of that second go-round of treatment. I was in treatment for 16 months. For my alcoholism and addiction. And during that time period, I had all of these really odd behaviors, and I didn't make progress, I guess would be the word, like other people did. I didn't understand, you know, when they would say, "Jan, you can't do this," and I would look at them very innocently and say, "Well, yes, I can. I just did it." And so I just didn't. There was just so many gaps, and I had all kinds of physical problems and challenges through my withdrawal, and what no one knew was that I had sustained a traumatic brain injury. And it was actually several years before that was discovered. After I got out of treatment, I took a few jobs and wasn't very successful because I had lots of problems with mood swings, with my temper. I would get very confused very quickly. And things like that. And so I bounced around in between jobs for a few years, and then I took a job as a physical therapy aide at one of the physical rehabs in Newport News. And what was neat about it, I was working on the brain injury unit of all places, and I kept watching the patients, and they behaved like I did. And so it was really quite curious for a long time. And so finally, as I guess I cleared, and I asked one of the speech therapists, I said, you know, these people behave like I do. And so she got me tested. I had neuropsych testing, and they made the diagnosis that that's what indeed had happened to me. I'd had a traumatic brain injury. And so, good fortune, since I was working there, I was able to begin to get the therapies and to get some of the medication intervention and the things that I needed. And so was able to begin to work again full time, and my mood was stabilized and things like that. And kind of on the addiction side, I was very involved in my personal recovery, and so I had managed to be able to stay sober once I finished that treatment experience. And one of the things that that for me, they taught me that if I drank, I was going to die, and I didn't, or use drugs, and I didn't want to die, and so it became very simple, really, that no matter what, you just don't drink. And people gave me all of these kind of rules to live by, and taught me things that that it's not negotiable. And so I was like, okay, and I'm very good at following instructions once I make my mind up that I'm going to do that. And so I haven't looked back in a way like others have. And a lot of the slogans that I've learned through the years, though I hated them in the beginning, are things that are very much a part of my life today. And this week it's been funny because one of the things that has been really alive is first things first, that you do this and then you do that. And it's like, okay, I'll do this and then I'll do that. So that was my first kind of experience with brain injury. I've had two. I became very active and involved in the Brain Injury Association, in the Virginia Survivors Council. I did a lot of those kinds of things. And once I was able to return to work, having no good sense in terms of boundaries and things like that, I started chasing money. And so I thought I was going to be the best worker and the hardest worker and things like that. And I can remember working, I was on the advisory council for the Ohio Valley Center, and they were doing all of this research about how once you've had a brain injury, we're at greater risk to have another one. And I didn't believe them, and I told them that I was going to be the exception and all those kinds of things that we say. And sure enough, 9 years after my first one, I was working and I swam headfirst into the wall of the swimming pool. And what we know now is that it wouldn't have been as bad had I not had the first brain injury. And so I think for me, though, it was far more devastating than the first one, because the first time I didn't know what I had lost. I was just so out of it that anything that I got to do, I was pretty pleased. But this second time, I knew what I had lost, and I was really angry. Because, today I was able to do these things, and then all of a sudden I wasn't able to do them. Once again, I did get fabulous care in terms of my needs for my brain injury. I stayed clean and sober throughout that process. I had wonderful support from the larger recovery community. And so it was a long, long journey back, though, from that second one. I was unable to work for a period of years and was on disability. And for a bit, I was not able to drive. I had to turn in my driver's license, and so that was quite challenging. And it was a race. My doctors didn't want to take it. And one day, I kind of woke up and said to my conscience that, I would never be able to forgive myself if I hurt somebody. So I went to the DMV and said, "You all need to have my license instead of me." And fortunately, I've been able to earn all of those privileges back. And it was actually a good thing. I understand today that driving is a privilege and not a rite of passage, which to me, I had thought, because I was active in my addiction when I first got my license. So I think it's just been an amazing journey, really.